Hey guys, welcome to the Let's Talk About Life podcast, episode 15. Today we're going to talk about fear, its invisible grip on our life, and how to break through.
Alright guys, so this is something we all know about. We all deal with it every day. Fear. What is it? Why do we have this feeling? So Burkett, can you define to me what does fear mean?
Yeah, so there's the acronym that I often share, and my dad taught it to me back in the day. But fear is a false evidence appearing real. You know, and this is cliche. So I'm gonna first acknowledge that that's cliche, but it's true, because most often than not, fear is something that's invisible. And I love that we call it like this. It has an invisible grip on our lives, because fear is just the ideas of what you think about what could happen. Right? All the possibilities. And so what happens is we see all these possibilities and we throw them on the wall. We say, if I do this, all this will happen to me. The truth is only certain things will happen. So we create false evidences from our own imagination that cause us not to move. So we paralyze ourselves just with our imagination. So fear is a dangerous thing, and it shows up in our lives in so many different ways, not because of the actual consequence, but because of our imagination that shrouds it, right? So one of the things that I like to say very often is that there is the potential things that could go wrong that's in front of you, and then behind it is the actual fear itself, the thing you're afraid of. There's fear, and then there's the thing that you're afraid of. If you can actually break through that and experience what it is like to face your fear, then you become empowered. And once you face your fear, all of a sudden you realize that that huge wall of imagination that was behind you was just an illusion. It was a false list of evidence that appeared real. So only by going to the thing you fear can you realize how much of a liar your imagination is. And so what I'd love to do is kind of talk about when are those experiences that have popped up in our lives where we had this false evidence that appeared real, and how we broke through it. So I kind of want to talk about breakthroughs. We do this with my clients a lot of times. We say, when did you overcome something you thought you never could? And it's so funny because they write about it, and when they talk about it, they get so excited. They're like, I feel like I'm reliving it, which gives them even more power to make new breakthroughs. So let's open that up. Who has had an experience in their life where there was something that they were just like, this is terrifying, and then they actually end up doing it? Even if it goes wrong, it'll never go as wrong as your imagination, because even if one thing happened, it's not everything. So what's that specific thing that you've broken through and like, oh my gosh, this was a whole list of false evidences?
Perfect. So I'm in the program. I'm in the iGym program with you, and part of the program is you have to, before you do anything, you have to find your foundation. You have to see who you are at the moment.
Yeah, your point A.
Yes.
That's terrifying.
It's very terrifying. So there's mind work, and there's physical work as well. There's body work, and I wanted to get bigger. I wanted to get more size, increase my size, and before I do anything, I had to take my before pictures.
Right.
And that was frightening. That was really frightening because I didn't want to confront myself. I didn't want to confront the reality of what my body was or is, because my whole life I was kind of living this, not lie, but I was living this false reality that I wasn't skinny and that I wasn't weak and that this stuff wasn't real. So confronting that was really, it was just scary stuff. And what ended up happening was, it was like, I think the assignment got assigned like Friday or something, and I waited, I think was it 2 weeks?
Yeah, you waited a minute for it.
Yeah.
And it was interesting because it wasn't that you thought you weren't skinny. It was that you knew what your strengths were and you focused on all your strengths, and you didn't want to come to grips with this specific weakness, and it's right in front of your face. That's what's so visceral about a picture. You see the picture of yourself skinny, and you're like, this is who I am.
Wow.
Right?
That is
So
terrifying.
who's afraid of seeing that, because he knows all the areas that he's amazing in, but this one area just really stands out. So it took the assignment was due. It passed, the due date passed, and he still didn't turn it in, right? So with all that, what was it that caused you to just continue to delay, right? That's the first question. The second question is, how did you break through? So what was the delaying thought process? What were the false evidences?
I think what I thought it was too much work.
Okay.
I think that's one excuse I gave myself.
To take the pictures?
Yes, it was too much work to take the pictures, and I had to put the phone. But it was funny because it's just putting the phone there,
Right.
and taking the picture.
Right.
So what I stopped myself by thinking that it was a big mountain to overcome.
Absolutely. Plus with it, you had to take your measurements as well. So it's like pictures, emotionally, you're like, oh, God. And then measurements, like we already know I'm skinny, like why do we have to measure it? You know what I mean? So it gets heavier. That's a lot. So in his mind, the single situation, he couldn't separate it, and it became these two things together that's a large task, and then it expanded. And then he just delayed. Were there any other fears behind it? Any other things that were keeping you from doing it?
I felt paralyzed.
Right.
This thing was paralyzing me. It was just putting me in bed for 3 days. I did absolutely nothing.
Right.
Just because of this one thing. And then what ended up happening was I just compiled everything in my life, and I kept thinking about everything in my life all because of this one thing.
Right.
I thought what was wrong with my parents,
Right.
what was wrong with my friends, with my girlfriend, with everything.
Right.
And I just thought of everything that was wrong in my life.
It's interesting because what's happening is these evidences, and this is the way the mind works, is when you see yourself fail or are falling short in one area because of fear, you feel bad about yourself, right? And then you start to look at other things in your life that relate to that negative feeling, that tie to that story. So the false evidences are already there that are just the measurements in the picture, are now tied into your belief of yourself as a failure or that you can't do something as simple as this. Then it starts to spread into all other areas of your life where you're falling short, and it creates this massive story. The word you said was paralyzed.
Yeah.
You were paralyzed. And that's what's so interesting. People think that not facing fear means you're going to miss out on the opportunity you could have had. But the truth is, not facing fear causes you to miss out on all opportunities because you're so focused on not wanting to do this that you're obviously not going to get what would happen if you did it. But at the same time, you're not going to be focused on the other opportunities that are available in your life in general because you feel bad about yourself and you're scared of this and you're mad that you're scared. You're mad, and so you're paralyzed in all aspects of your life. It bleeds. So when I say false evidence appearing real, it's not just the false evidence against that consequence of that action. It's all of a sudden these false evidences of who you are as a person, how it ties into your core belief of I'm not worthy, I'm not strong enough, I can't do it, I'm all talk.
Crazy, bro.
Right? So that's kind of what happens. So you finally got to the point where you're like, dude, I can't be paralyzed like this. Even to me, this is too much. And then you're like, I'm just going to take the pictures.
Yeah, and I think what helped is that I had someone holding me accountable.
Right. That's real talk. That's why even in my research, I'm saying these are the different ways to change behavior, change your paradigms, but you have to have some type of coach, some type of mentor. You must. You know what I mean? I mean, even in religion, discipleship, it's you have to. You got to have somebody that can hold you accountable. It's the training wheels, and soon you take the training wheels off, you know? So obviously I'm there and I'm asking you, but I was very gentle about it. I wasn't like, hey, this has got to happen. It wasn't this total external motivator. It was saying, like, when you're ready, there's so much that we can do once you take this first step. And the cool thing is that gave you the power. It was your volition. You were the one that could decide when you were going to take the pictures. Because if I force that on my clients, I'm teaching my clients to do what Burke says, to do what the iGym program says. The internal gym is just when you're working with it. No, this philosophy goes on way after. So you have to make the choices. When you had the breakthrough, how did you feel? When you did it, how did you feel afterwards?
I felt amazing. I felt like I am now, this is one step less that I have to do, and it's just taking it that one step at a time.
Powerful, man. The power of breakthrough is you can reach in your pocket to that experience, and then you can say, this same experience that I had is available with this thing in my life right now. Because it's the same process. No matter what, it's the same process. And so what happens is when you have those breakthroughs, you keep them in your pocket and you keep recollecting them. Because when you recollect them, then you can have the impetus and the power and the empowerment to be able to face the next breakthrough, right? And you said you felt like you could do anything. You felt like you were one step closer. That's one less step that you have to take. But it's funny because when you were on the other side of fear, where you were afraid of it, you were afraid that by facing it, it would mean almost like I just took one step in a massive marathon, and I don't want to feel that. But by you taking that step, you felt empowered. There's a huge thing that happens for people. People who are afraid of success are not afraid of success. They're afraid of if they can maintain it, right? And so what you were able to do was to realize it's not my job to worry about all the future. I just need to do this. And then when you did it, the paralysis disappeared. You felt empowered. It's amazing. When you break through fear, you teach yourself how to break through fear. It doesn't matter what the fear was. It's the mechanism, as I talked about before, of breaking through that's so powerful. Beautiful.
Yeah, it's a muscle too. The more you do it, the better you get at it.
Right.
And I think it's a lifelong journey. I think it's always going to happen, and we just got to keep that muscle growing.
Right.
If we stop at any moment and we give up,
Yeah.
and we stop conquering fear, we don't do anything.
It's exactly, we atrophy. Just like you said, it's a muscle.
Yeah, because you mentioned, Jake, that for the past 3 days you were stuck in your bed. What was going through your mind?
Honestly, just that I can't do it, and that it's this big thing, and that me doing that, kind of like what we talked about earlier, it was that I had to run this. I looked at the bigger picture first instead of taking that one small step. So me looking at the bigger picture, I was like, I can't do this. I cannot climb this mountain. That's really what was going through my mind, and it was just repeating in my head. Oh, I got to take these pictures. I got to take these pictures. And I just kept thinking about everything else, every mountain else in my life, and it just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, and it just dove me deeper into it, and I just kind of had to snap out of it and be like, this is just one thing. That's it. I just had to do one thing.
Right. It's powerful because I love that you were saying that you're afraid of a thing, avoiding a thing while thinking negatively about why you're pushing it off. Like, why am I pushing this off? I hate this. So there's two minds that are happening. There's the coward, and then the person who considers themselves a coward, which is such a heavy weight. It's almost easier just to do the thing than to be afraid of the thing and hate yourself for being afraid of it. You know what I mean? And the power of to be able to just have the courage to just do it. Bring it down to small steps and then just get it done. It's insane. It's a huge lesson to a lot of people. And I love that you were able to have that breakthrough. And then what I've seen from you since then is incredible. The distance between your breakthroughs, the distance between you facing your fears is getting smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller because the muscle is getting stronger. It's starting to become more who you are. And that's why it's a lifestyle program. It's not about this moment in time that you faced a lot of fears. It's about creating these mechanisms, these habits within yourself to face fear. False evidence is appearing real. Being able to break them down to their bite-sized pieces so that you can overcome them, right? The mind sees fear as a blob. But if we learn to cut it down into what it actually is, we're like, this is actually not that much, right? So that's amazing. Thanks for sharing that, dude. I think that it's like, I want to hop in and talk about a fear that I had. A time that was really powerful for me in terms of facing a fear and being able to kind of reshape my paradigm, realizing these false evidences. So I was doing a speech. I was going to be a vision speech. I was doing this at UC Berkeley. And I was really excited about the opportunity. I wanted to be able, it's going to be recorded. So all of a sudden when I think recorded, I'm like, but I'm Mr. Adlib. Mm-hmm. I'm present. What if I mess up? I don't want it to be on video because it's now forever, right? These are the fears. And so anyways, I'm like, I know that I'm capable. I know that I know how to speak to people. I've spoken to thousands. It's not impossible. I can do it. But every time there's this fear. What if it doesn't go right? What if I forget what to say? And it was the craziest thing because I remember I was doing the prep for the speech, and there was going to be 3 of us that were speaking. And when everybody went, they felt confident. But then when I started speaking, I was choking like crazy. This was the night before, and you could see my mentor was there, Dan. He was looking at me, and he just was like, you could see that he had a little concern. He was this guy may not make it. I felt like I would crash and burn. And they were trying to give me positive feedback. And that's the most don't give me positive feedback right now. That lets me know how scared you are for me, right? I'm like, this is about to get real. So I remember doing it and trying to prepare the day before. And I was sitting on the balcony and I was just like, oh my God, this is going to be recorded. This is going to be a video of me failing, So I'm trying to remember my lines. And every time I keep forgetting around the same spot. It's just in the beginning. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm done for. I don't know how this is going to work. Whatever. It is what it is. You get to the point where you're like, I surrender. I walk on stage. They call me up. I walk on stage. And I start off with my poem. But it was the craziest thing because the first thing that I did was look at the audience. And as soon as I looked at the audience, I saw their eyeballs. And connected to eyeballs are souls, people. And I remember this thing that I used to write all the time when I used to play music, Messenger. At the end of the day, all I'm trying to do is convey a message. And as soon as my mind realized that the message was the most important thing, not how I looked, I flowed. And it was just amazing. The way that it's recorded. I have it on my website now. I got across the point I wanted to get across. And afterwards, I'm just sitting there and I'm like, all that stress, all that worry, all of it, for absolutely nothing. I put my body through who knows what for nothing. And most times, that's how it is for us. Most times that the pain of beginning to do it, the pain of attempting, of getting close to the fire is more painful than the fire itself, right? And that just, it clicked in my mind. Another time for my research, I had to present my research at Cal when I was at Berkeley. And I was just so nervous. I remember being in an empty room practicing, choking nonstop. I kept choking. But as soon as I got out there, as soon as I saw the people, flow. And what I realized is that it's all false evidence is appearing real. I had created the idea that I will crash and burn. And it was the most, epic. Like, I'll stare at people and I'll forget what to say, and the camera will be pointing at me and everybody's like you're just thinking the worst possible thing. And you're forgetting, this is the craziest thing, you're forgetting the thousands upon thousands of hours that you spent perfecting your craft. Doesn't even touch your brain, because this ghost has filled every space, every crevice of your mind. When in actuality, you absolutely have everything that's required to be able to nail this. Right? It was such an incredible and exhilarating experience. And what I've noticed, just like you said, the more often you work that muscle out, the more comfortable you get. The more comfortable you get. I did a video today too. I did a video, like it was a recorded video. I had to read from a script and remember it and then perform. I was like, I'm like, I don't have enough time. How am I going to flow? I sit on the chair. They're like rolling, and I was, the muscle's getting stronger. You know what I mean? So it's just kind of cool. Just as your pictures, taking the pictures of you and being skinny is the same for me. We're all on the spectrum, and we're all experiencing the same visceral experience. Whether it's just saying hi to a person or speaking in front of 1,000 people. It doesn't matter. The fear is there for all of us. As long as we know that it's a ghost, that it's not exactly what we're imagining, then we have the power to overcome it, break through, and use that to build ourselves to the future. You know what I mean? So,
Do you think the reason why we have this fear is it because it's a survival instinct? Why do we have it all the time?
yeah, fear. At the end of the day, yes, fear it's fight or flight. You know, your sympathetic nervous system. We need it to exist. But we were in the plains, running for our lives or running for food. You know what I mean? And we had to procreate. There was a lot of stuff that was happening. Now we live in a society that is reduced most fears. You know what I mean? It's not like somebody's pregnant, you're like, oh my God, they're gonna have a baby, are they gonna lose it? It's a lot of the things that we used to be afraid of thousands of years ago is just different from this time. But the mechanism of fear is still there, right? And so what happens is you start to fear things that you just have to put the fear somewhere. You know what I mean? And our society says that you need to look this way, feel this way, make this much money, do this much stuff. This is how you don't. And at the same time, they're saying achieve all this stuff more in the Western world. But at the same time, they're saying you're not enough. Buy this product. You're weak. You're not strong. If you do this, then you see what I'm saying? There's this there's this pressure that's coming on both sides. So obviously you're afraid. You're afraid to fail. You're afraid to make God mad. You're afraid to. So it overwhelms us. I think ultimately is what happens. It overwhelms us in this society, and we begin to become afraid of things that just don't matter. Things like, what are they going to think? In 100 years, all of us are dead.
It's crazy.
You know what I mean? What does it matter what they think? Yeah, if this thing's running after me to kill me,
yeah.
You know what I mean? But in this life, the things that we're afraid of, they're laughable if you were able to look at it 100 years from now. You're like, what? Why did I say no? Why did I say no? Why didn't I reach out? Why didn't I go? Why didn't I stay? It doesn't matter. Whoever you're thinking about right now that you're afraid of what they'll think about you, in 100 years they're gone. And you'll have just the history of your life. Doesn't matter. How is their thought about you enough to stop you from doing something? And here's even crazier. It may not even be their thought about you. Your thought about their thought about you. So you're fabricating a fabrication of them that's being used to stop you from living the life you want.
And even if they think that.
Even if they think that. It's not, they're not going to live your life. Right? And even if you do attempt and fail, you attempted. There's a grand power in being able to just try it. I used to say, I don't care where I travel. I'd love to travel somewhere and hate it than to have never traveled there. And I've done that. I've been to places I'm like, but I know that I don't like it. That's power for me.
That's crazy.
You know what I mean?
I mean, if you're talking about traveling, right?
Yeah.
And this is kind of funny. I know you guys are gonna laugh, all right? I have never traveled in an airplane. And tomorrow, I'm traveling in an airplane. I'm going to Texas for 3 days, and I'm scared for my life. I've never been inside an airport. I've never been checked. This guy's telling me I'm going to be checked for like 2 hours. My name is Muhammad Ali. So I'm like, what? I'm American. I'm a California boy. So I'm scared for that, number one, for being marked as a potential terrorist.
What about the part where you fly thousands of feet in the
that
sky?
Scares the hell out of me. Like looking down, I'm like, am I floating on this? Am I like I'm thinking of Castaway, like Tom Hanks crashing down, Wilson. Like seriously,
Yes.
And you guys are saying, hey, breakthroughs and your fear.
Right.
And you're talking about empowerment. I'm like, empower. I'm gonna piss my pants. Empowerment. What the hell is this? What the hell am I supposed to do?
We'll start with one. How do you feel? Talk
Great.
more about your fear right now.
I'm
What are you
trying to not
feeling?
think about it. That's
Right. But when the
Why?
fear does pop up, what do you think?
I face it head on usually.
No, right now in this situation, you feel fear.
Yeah, I
Okay,
do.
and facing it head on is because you have to.
Yes, that's usually
Okay,
what I
so
have to.
so what are you feeling in terms of fear?
Death. I don't want to die in an airplane crash, so that's why I'm thinking about the airplane crashing.
How often have you thought that in the
Anytime
past?
I'm traveling. Because for example, this is crazy. Like I just saw a random news article. This girl, 22 years old, dad was in a helicopter, crashed, flying from like somewhere in California, and he died. And I was like, great. And I'm traveling next week on Monday, and I'm like,
Right.
dude, Alyssa Pernia, KCAL9 News, crash in San Antonio, Texas. I mean, geez.
He's the only one that
I'm
died.
creating this false evidence appearing real, but
Right.
how do I counteract that? How do I avoid that?
Well, it's not about avoiding, but let's go deeper. I love it. You just exhaled. You're feeling it.
Yeah,
man.
I'm feeling it.
So
bro.
so I want you to tell me what are the feelings that you're experiencing? How often are you thinking about this flight? Like how much has it affected the past week of your life?
Since 2 months ago, since I got awarded this,
Yeah.
thing, they said, "Oh, are you gonna be flying to Texas?" I'm like, "I'm flying.
Right.
What airplane?"
Right.
And I keep picturing me in the back of an airplane, and just sitting there, not being able to move. I'm like imprisoned in this airplane. It's flying in the middle of 10,000. I mean, how high are
30,000.
30,000 feet in the air, and I'm with wings that are engineered by human beings who are idiots.
Right.
And I'm literally having a pilot control my life right now.
Right.
What the hell am I supposed to expect? I have no control, and I'm scared shitless.
I love it. Let's go to this. You said a word, picture. You keep picturing yourself.
Illustrating, yes.
Yeah. So you keep picturing yourself in the back, right? So it's amazing because I think that's just something it's good to just take a moment to bookmark. We have an imagination that is so vivid. And we create pictures of what's going to happen. And once our mind is locked on, okay, that's a good, scary one, it then just replays that thing over and over in the back of your mind. And then as it's replaying, each time you have a new narrative. Oh, the pilot has no control. Oh, who's the mechanics? What if they messed up? Oh, what if a bird flies into the engine? So first we
Thanks for adding a new one. God, burn to the engine.
They're not at 30,000 feet, brother. You're going to be
And
okay.
just a quick fact that I learned is that the brain cannot tell if you think about something, it cannot tell what is real and what is not. So if you're picturing it in your head, your mind is like, that's real, it's gonna happen, and it can't tell that it's just an imagination.
Yeah, they say if you are imagining an apple or looking at an apple, the same parts of your brain light up. Imagination is very real, right?
that's
It's obviously real enough for you to feel it. You know what I mean? You said you're scared shitless. So you're in this space. When's the flight again?
It's tomorrow morning.
Okay, this is the
6
cool thing.
a.m. Literally tomorrow, man.
Bro, think about this though. This time, tomorrow, you're good.
Yeah.
Until you got to come back. But listen.
God damn it. No, the worst part is I'm landing in Phoenix and I have to go back again.
No.
So I'm-
Well, here's the thing, dude. I think that obviously you're going to face it head on. You're going to be okay. And it's not like a true phobia where you're get me out of this plane or anything like that. So that's a little more serious.
It's more of heights.
Yeah,
That's what I'm afraid of.
The cool thing is there's something surreal about being that high. You know what I mean? I've jumped out of a plane Yeah,
That's
so-
the biggest fear I have to
No,
fight.
bungee jumping for me scares me more because
Jeez.
I can hit the rocks and still live.
Holy
At least jumping out of a plane, I know I'm done. So here's the thing, man. How do you think, kind of from what we spoke about, how do you think is a way that you can approach this? The cool thing is you have to go through it no matter what, which will grow you. But how do you think is a way from the stuff that we're talking about that can help you better approach this fear?
Well, I mean, when Jake was saying that he was laying in his bed for 3 days paralyzed, that's what I've been feeling, mentally paralyzed, but I'm still going about my day.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, the breaking point, I mean, it's like how you mentioned too.
Let's
You
just
were
take a breather real quick.
like you were choking up. Remember you said you were choking up and everything, and the only way for me to really get over this bouquet is doing it. That's it. It's just doing it, man.
Yeah.
This is forcing me to do it.
Right.
Like I can't. I could have said no, I don't want to go, but I said I have to go. So this is, and I honestly think it's like roller coasters. I used to be terrified of roller coasters.
Right.
After my first roller coaster, I was like, hell yeah, front row seat all the freaking time.
Why?
I just felt so exhilarated. I'm like,
Right.
yes, I feel powerful. You know, when I went on a roller coaster, I was like, hell yeah, let's do it from now on. And I think I might have the same experience with the airplanes, but I'm just, that nervousness of
Right.
not doing it for the first time is just
Right.
scary.
Where do you feel it?
Inside my chest, inside me, and I just...
Inside
I
you?
keep
Where
pic-
in
I
your
keep-
chest?
I just keep picturing this. I don't know why the back of the freaking airplane wing, bro.
Okay. Where do you feel it?
I feel on my forehead.
Mm-hmm.
I feel on the back of my neck.
Okay.
It's not a good feeling. It's like nauseous.
You feel nauseous. Right. This is how I did it. With like, for example, when I got into Berkeley, I was like, can I do this? There's other schools that I can get into, and I think, and they're close to me by my business, and I can do it, and I'll be all right. This one, they're really going to test me. You know what I mean? And I felt fear. But I taught myself, wherever I feel fear, I think I may have mentioned this in one of the other podcasts, but I feel it in my throat. And what I did was I said, okay, remember this feeling, remember this feeling, remember this feeling. This is now called opportunity. Right? And as soon as I called it opportunity, I would feel it, and then my brain would be like, wait, no, it's opportunity. And then I kept doing it. I feel it, wait, no, it's opportunity. And then as time went by, it was, I feel it, automatically opportunity. I trained myself to see that this feeling is opportunity. And so it allowed me to move forward. You feel it as fear, aka danger. You can't move forward. But if you could somehow see it as opportunity, and the best way to do it is go back to your previous breakthrough, which could be the roller coaster. You probably felt the same exact sensation. Afterwards, you felt a very different sensation. That's what's following. So if you can teach yourself to understand that behind every fear is greatness, then you can go. Then you'll make it happen. And even if the fear is there, because they say feel the fear and do it anyways, it's not about overcoming fear, as in vanquishing it. It's just not letting it paralyze you. It's about moving forward. The better you get at facing fear, the more powerful you are, the more empowered you are. Even if things go to crap, because you faced it, right? It's the facing that's so powerful. So as you're experiencing this, I would write about what you feel, where you feel it, and how you feel it. And then when you land, I want you to write about how you feel, where you feel it, and how you feel it. Right? And then you can correlate, whoa, this is not one feeling and one feeling, it's one feeling. And the intro of fear outros with empowered.
Wow.
Right?
Man, I'm just gonna let that sink in. I have to let that sink in because I'm literally thinking about it. Yeah, but the thing is, like, you're right. This is just one piece of it.
Right.
Because this is how I'm facing all my fears. You know what I mean? This is not just only the airplane. It could be many other things in
Absolutely.
my life. So if I'm able to learn to handle this, situation of this type of fear, I should be able to. I'll be able to handle other types of fear. So I'm trying to, just let it sink in, and observing it, and knowing that it's in the back of my head. That's what I feel it.
Yeah.
It's sometimes it's almost like as if it gives you a headache too. I don't know. It's weird.
I mean, yeah, I mean, your mind is telling you something that's sending chemicals to your body that's making you feel something, right?
Yeah.
It's a little bit of anxiety.
Yeah.
Meditation is huge too, obviously.
Because like I'll give you an example. Like my mind's telling me again, you're going to be sitting in that plane. Like I think of people going like traveling to a different country, for example, doing the plane for like what 12 hours.
Yeah.
I'm like, how does someone sit that long in that freaking chair,
So
not
funny.
moving? You're literally stuck in a seat and a flying freaking object up there. How the hell do you survive? You can't move. You can't be free. You can't go from. I'm gonna go to a restaurant. You can't do shit. That scares the hell
So
out of
funny.
me.
Yeah, I used to think that about work. I'm like, how do people work for 8 hours a day? Like, I was just like, what? How do you sit in an office? Then I did it. I'm like, oh, that's how.
Wow.
That's how.
I see.
You're just all it is you're just on the other side of fear right now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so all you have is you're thinking, man, how do they do that? And da 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 da. I can't move. I can't go to the restaurant. I can't. You're thinking a bunch of random thoughts. It's just what happens. But you're at a place right now where what you can do is just be like, I'll figure it out as I go. Because it's the ability to imagine the future that can be dangerous for us. You know, what he did is he cut it down to bite-sized pieces, you know? I'm just going to set the phone here. I'm going to do this. I'm going to take a picture. It was just dot, dot, dot. For you, just get to the airport. And then go through, you know, the security. And then sit and be like, whoa, I'm sitting here and I'm terrified. I feel fear. There is fear right here. This is opportunity.
Beautiful.
Look out the window. Whoa, that's scary. But I'm still here. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just this process where if you cut it down to just, I just have to get to this, to that, to this. If you just cut it down to the experience, and if you become a reporter, this is kind of one of the ways to diffuse fear, is you become an objective observer of the experience. You know what I mean? Like, I'm feeling fear. Da, 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 da. Okay, the plane is moving. Whoa, this person looks calm. This person looks nervous. Let me see if I can, you know what I mean? And you're just kind of explaining the process. Then you're filling your mind with not worrying. You're just filling it with reporting what's happening. You know what I'm saying? And then when you're done, you write about how you feel afterwards. There's a power to this.
That sounds like a perfect structure. I'm
Yeah.
gonna do that, bro.
Yeah, and then see what happens, because maybe it doesn't work at all.
Yeah.
But then we have data on how to better approach it next time,
Reporting live
right?
here on Southwest Airlines.
And what's cool is that the first time that I flew,
Yeah.
I cut it down to even more bite-sized pieces. Instead of
Were
saying,
you afraid of flying?
I was.
No way.
Yeah.
Please tell
So what I
me.
did
Share.
was, instead of me thinking about get to the airport and then fly the plane, I said get to the airport, get in my seat, take off, fly, land, get out of my seat. You know what I mean? And that helped. How often do you think about that fear right now?
Well, I mean, usually I don't think about people. Oh, you should travel. You should travel. Yeah, I'll travel. But I don't travel.
What about right now? Like the flight tomorrow. How often do you think about it right now?
Every minute and almost every second.
Not really.
Well, yeah. The whole freaking past couple of days in the back of my head, I'm like, shit, it's getting closer. It's getting closer. It's getting closer. It's getting closer. It's freaking 11 o'clock at night. It's 12 o'clock at night. Shit, man, I gotta fly. I gotta get my luggage. I gotta make sure I'm there on time. Fuck, what am I gonna do?
Are you thinking about it all the time? Like let's just say,
Well,
for
today
example-
only, obviously, because today is it's almost there. Like it's winding down to me being there. Like for example, your presentation, you were studying, right? But as you were getting closer, the anticipation
Yeah,
starts
of
to
course.
kick in, and the adrenaline starts kicking in. So I'm starting to feel it right now. So I think after what Burkay said, that's perfect. I'm just gonna stick with that. I'm just gonna be a reporter, bro. Just gonna keep it simple.
Do you have it written down?
I'm gonna write it on my phone right now.
So dope, man.
I'm
I'm
just
curious
a
to see.
reporter, bro. I'm gonna put Instagram stories. That's what I'm gonna do.
Yeah,
I'm
really.
I'm gonna Instagram story Burkay. I'm like, yo, Burkay, dude, reporting live, bro. Save me, okay? Pray for me. Pray. Both of you guys pray for me.
All right.
Okay.
You're gonna be. This is the thing, bro. Like, just funny. I'm just talking to you right now.
Freaking it says flight. Fucking says flight. It says flight. Okay, Phoenix. God damn.
Look at you, man. I like this.
I'm nerved. Yeah, I'm a little nerved.
This is powerful, man. Take advantage of this. Don't just make it.
Yeah.
Make something up.
I don't know. See, I said I know. I don't know.
What do you mean?
I just said I know. I don't know.
Yeah. So, anyways, man, I think that's really cool. I think you're in a good space. You're figuring it out. You're gonna make it through. You're gonna be okay. You're really nervous though.
Totally.
Yeah, it's
It's
like
my face, bro.
no, I see it in your body, dude. The way you're sitting.
I'm just like this. I'm like a hunched over. Usually I'm
man.
like, hey guys, what's going on?
Have you turned down opportunities to go places?
Yes, out of fear of traveling. Yes.
Wow.
Don't laugh. Stop looking at me and laughing.
That's,
Look at that guy. See that?
that's imagination too.
Yeah, that's imagination.
So let's take a second with this, man. What have you missed out on? Like, can you at least name one opportunity you had to fly somewhere and you said no?
Chicago, Dubai.
You turned down Dubai.
My cousins live in Dubai, bro. They're like, come to Dubai. I'm like, yeah, not right now. I'm too busy. I'm scared of flying, bro.
Wow, it's awesome, man. Hey, sit on that. You know, one of the best motivators for change is pain. You know what I mean? Like, if you can build up the narrative of how much you've missed out, it'll put you in a place you're like, never again. You know what I mean? There's two ways. Like, when we do, there's certain exercises that we do in the program where I let you see how negative you are to yourself. And then when people experience it, they're like, holy hell, I'm never going to let myself be like that. But if I had them just do it once, then they'd be like, no, that's a negative thought. I shouldn't think that way. But then when they realize that, holy crap, I berate myself with negativity. I would never wish this on my enemy. Then they decide to change. If you look at all the opportunities you've missed out on because of a fear of one of the most safest modes of transportation. And not only missing out, but missing out by making up stories that aren't reality. It's even worse because you're not facing fear and you're covering up the fear. Two dangerous things. Not facing it makes it easier to become weaker, right? Covering it up means you can never excise it. You can't even shine light on it to change it. That's a double tap. You know what I mean? Which will only keep you in that space. So luckily your work forced you to travel.
Yes.
Because if it didn't, you'd still be here. We'd be doing a podcast, and then you wouldn't be mentioning the plane.
And
It'd be a different story.
What's funny is I'd start complaining about being stuck in a sandbox. Like, yeah, I never travel. I'm in the sandbox. And it's my own fault.
What really helped me out with that thought is me just hating the fact that I was scared, or me hating that I was paralyzed for 3 days. Me hating it made me not do it. Does that make sense? So it was really cool. I mean, that's what helped me.
I love that you said that because it took you 3 days to be like, this isn't good. First day, you're like, oh, okay, just paralyzed, not moving, finding other things to just kind of do. Second day, not going to really talk to Burkay that much or something like that. Just kind of like, maybe the third day, you're like, I'm still here and I've done nothing. And you hate it.
Yep.
It's getting to that point of hate. There's the carrot and the stick. You find out what you love, right? And then you find out what you hate. And then when you can clearly see both of those, that's one of the exercises we do. If I change, if I don't. If I do change, whew, beauty. If I don't change, whew, hell. And then that pushes you and pulls you toward your greatness. So you have opportunities to have gone to places and experiences that you can never get. And these could be amazing experiences. Good or bad, because even bad ones teach you something. So you missed evolution opportunities. And imagine all the evolution opportunities you get if you decide to face this fear. And if you can pile it up and make both of these massive piles, one will push you and the other will pull you. And it'll make it that much easier to face the fear. Doesn't mean you won't have fear. They don't erase the fear. I hate when people come to me and they're like, hey, I want to get rid of fear. I'm like, hey, die. That's, you know what I mean? That's the only time. Your job is not getting rid of fear. It's moving fear out of the way so that you can do what you need to do. Right? That's all of us.
Yeah. And I also think one of the things we do to not... There's two mistakes I think that I do as well. Is one, I don't acknowledge that I'm actually confronting fear.
Okay.
That's one thing, I don't think about it. And two, I distract myself with other things. Kind of like what we talked about with strengths and weaknesses. I find what I'm good at so that I run away from what I'm bad at.
Right.
Just wanted to add that in
That's
there.
huge, man. I mean, I call it stupid dust. What we do is we just throw that dust on us and then we focus on something else. What we do is our power, our superpower is distraction. The danger of distraction is that what it does is it frees you from responsibility. It gives you these new false responsibilities so that you don't do the main thing that you need to face. I have it. I do it all the time. Sometimes I'm trying to create a program and I spend more time on developing the app itself or the UI, right? then the program itself, then the course. And I'm spending all this time on an email. Like even, today I had work that I needed to do, but I was looking at my bookshelf and I'm like, I need to straighten up my bookshelf. Why? Because lucky for me, one of the shelves slipped and fell and the books all fell out. So instead of me fixing just that shelf, I fixed the entire bookshelf. The thing is that distraction is not the thing that you're distracting yourself with. Distraction is this constant radar, boop, boop, that's looking for something to be distracted by. That's what stops us from doing the things that we want to do. Distraction is not, oh, I'm distracted by my phone, by my computer, by my bookshelf, by this. No. Distraction is constantly seeking anything that is not the thing that I need to do.
Wow.
Yeah.
I see that.
It ties into fear perfectly.
100%, because distraction is the dust that frees us from facing our fears. False evidence appearing real is over here. And we need to create some type of acronym for distraction. But pretty much what it is if you have all these false evidences that are terrifying you, then you create these other false evidences that are luring you to do some other action that's not related to that one.
Jeez.
You know?
Or even worse, I've gone through this when I go through the program. Instead of evolving, I find other areas that aren't necessarily distractions, but I find other areas that I'm like, oh, I'm evolving in those,
Right.
but I never confront what I really need to evolve on.
And you do that with your journals sometimes. In the beginning, you were doing that with your journals because you weren't doing the assignments,
Yes.
but you were popping up journals like they were crazy. You're like, dude, I'm like learning so much, and I love journals. I'm all about journals. But his journals became his distraction because he was on the website, he was on the platform, and he's doing his work, and he's just like typing it up, sending it in. It gives you that feeling, submit, right? But he wasn't submitting the assignments, the body work and the mind work that was assigned to him. You see, the mind is a tricky son of a gun. We are tricky beings. And this is what I love about the work that I do is because I can see the trick behind the trick and how we use successes to mitigate the true successes that we should have. How we use other opportunities to distract us from the things that we're supposed to face. And if we can learn to start to understand, like, that's just stupid dust, that's just a distraction, then we're empowered to say, what is the thing that I'm afraid of that I need to face? I created this document that was it was asking me what are the main things that I'm avoiding. And I would say 1 to 5. 5 would be red, means I'm really avoiding it. 1 would be green. And I literally could see what it was that I was avoiding. And then I'd write why. What are the reasons? And then all of a sudden I have this perfect vision of what my fear is. Because the top 5 are all very similar. They're all related to this thing. Then when I got clear on that thing, I'm like, I'm avoiding that. Then I can spend time, why am I avoiding that? Then I explain it. Now, what actions am I going to do? Or what actions am I going to take away? And that's it. Because what I could do is I could continue to make more and more graphs and stop myself from doing it. I just stop with what actions are you going to take out or implement in order to face these things.
Yeah. And kind of like what we talked about earlier as well, facing the fear, it's very important that we don't feel bad for ourselves. Like I think with the story we mentioned about how you're judging yourself and then you're judging yourself for judging yourself or something like that.
Yeah.
It's very important that we don't feel bad we should, this is something I struggle with as well. I struggle with this a lot, is compassion for myself with fear.
Mm-hmm.
When I don't confront something, then I feel bad for myself, which just further makes the problem worse.
Yeah, in research, they call it the what the hell effect. They did this research, I think, did I mention this here? Mm-hmm. Okay, so they did some research where they had these women that were very self-conscious of their body, and they had the women eat a donut and then drink a full glass of water so they felt like especially full. Then they split the women up into 2 groups, and they had one person who said, hey, thanks so much for being a part of this survey. Feel free to grab a chocolate on the way out. And then another group, they said, hey, thanks so much for being a part of this survey. I know that you guys didn't want to eat the donut. I know you guys just kind of feel bad about it. I just want to let you know that, it's okay. It was just for the research. You're not this type of person. We all make mistakes. It's not a big deal. Feel free to grab a chocolate on the way out. What they found was that the people who got the message of self-compassion, it's okay, ate less chocolate than the people who didn't get the message. And they call it the what the hell effect because what it means is like, I already went this far, I already failed here, what the hell? I might as well give up all the way. Right? Just give it up. So what happens is when you're afraid to face a fear and then you're hating yourself for it, you're like, I'm a failure already. Why even try to face it?
Damn.
Why even try to face it? So we have our fear and then our judgment of our fear, like we were talking about. And then we give up, which feeds the sabotage of the story of we're not capable and satisfies that fear of what if I fail. It's a chain reaction that all ties back to validating your belief about who you are as a person. I'm not good enough. So if I tried, knowing that I'm not good enough, then I won't make it, and it'll validate that I'm not good enough. So I hate myself for not doing what I know I want to do, but I'm afraid of it. So forget it. I'm not going to even try because I know that I'll be not good enough. Then you further validate yourself as being not good enough for not even trying.
Wow.
It's a tricky game.
That's crazy.
It's a tricky game. So the what the hell effect is something that's been really powerful, and messages of self-compassion, like you say, are extremely important. When you let yourself slide, not slip, not slippery, but if you fall short, you know what I mean? Like, hey, it's okay. It doesn't mean you give yourself license to continue to do it all the time, but you're giving yourself a little bit of grace and trusting that, no, I signed up for this program and I put money in this program because I care about it. It being me. I want to grow. I've done so much to prove that I want to grow, but I'm falling short in this area. Okay, I need to talk about it.
Oh,
Right? I don't want to change it, and I need to talk about not wanting to change it. Or I want to just at least mention it so that there's light on it, because maybe I can change it then. Versus the plane flight, I'm busy, I'm not going to be able to make it to Dubai. Right? As soon as you say I'm afraid of planes, then a conversation is able to happen. Right?
can I say? I just want to say one last thing that I heard in church today. It talks about how if you're sinning and you're having a battle with sin and you're not talking about it with other people,
Right.
it makes the battle is even worse than you think it is.
Mm-hmm.
But once we talk about it, that you just like you said, it opens up the conversation. So I think that's an excellent point.
Yeah. Surgeons don't do work in the dark. You know what I mean? Like, you need light to see. You need a magnifying glass. You need to scope in and see what's going on. So when you put things in the light, when you put things in a place where people can see it, then you can deal with it. If not, all you have is your false evidences. That's it.
Wow.
You in the back of the plane, sitting there, can't go to a restaurant, stuck. What if the plane goes down? San Antonio plane crash. All this stuff just, this massive list pops up. But there's not one list about how amazing it is that you're first experiencing the magic of flight, right? Second, you're about to get an award. You're talking to me about the flight when you're getting an award from your work for being so successful.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And being able to share and talk about that, but none of that comes up.
Just the fear.
Yep, just the fear.
Bullshit.
Yeah, man, but it's a muscle.
Yeah.
We're naturally inclined to be afraid of things. We're naturally inclined to see the things we don't like. I'm like, I love your shirt, man. It's dope. Your pants are fire, man. Oh my God, love it. You're looking great. But what's with your hair? The whole night you're gonna be like, what's with my hair? It doesn't matter how many compliments I give you. It's the insult that scares you.
Gotcha.
Because we're prone to see the negative. It's just in our DNA. You have to work the muscle out to see the positive. You have to work the muscle out to see the potential realities and opportunities that are available if you face the fear. As you build that muscle, you become more empowered. Dope.
Done.
So real quick, we just want to, it's been 2 weeks since we did our podcast on fear, false evidence appearing real. And Ali, you have a story because we were talking about how you were afraid of flying. And there were some things that you had realized, with that fear that it stopped you from achieving. We were just like, what could you have been, open to experiencing if you overcame that fear? And then also one of the things that we said was maybe take note of your process while going on the flight. And then at the same time, when you can look back, you're like, okay, I've felt this fear before, I've gone through it, and the amazing things that happened afterwards. So I'd love for you to just take a moment to share kind of your experience.
Absolutely.
I think the audience would be it'd be great for them to hear your process.
I want to thank you guys first for that. That podcast was incredible. I mean, that fear in itself, I lived it.
Yeah.
Going in the airplane, as I was standing there, I just felt that fear take hold of me. And exactly what you said, where is the fear coming from? Is it coming from my head? Is it coming from my chest? I felt it from the pit of my stomach. My knees were heavy as I was walking on board, getting closer and closer in this giant aluminum tube. I'm going inside, I'm like, Jesus Christ. I sit down and I'm like claustrophobic in this tiny chair.
and this thing takes off, and I'm like, oh my god, what the? And I start seeing the ground just elevating.
Right.
I'm like, wait, what? What? My eyes are getting wider and wider, and this guy is sitting next to me just chilling. And I'm telling myself, oh my god, my mind starts playing these tricks on me. Oh my god, Ali, you're way in the air. What are you doing here? Red zone, red flag, beware, danger, danger, danger. I'm terrified, man.
Right.
I'm like holding onto the chair like this for dear life of me. And this guy is sitting next to me with this kid. And he looks at me, he's like, hey, where are you going? I'm like, I'm going to San Antonio. He's like, oh, great, I'm going to North Carolina. And he's like talking to me, and he's like, yeah, this is my son named Arrow. And I was like, Arrow. And I thought about that last time.
That's
We talked about the arrow that I was shooting.
Right.
Remember that? This is a whole different story, but like the arrow. And his kid's name was Arrow, and I was like, correlation. I was like, the dots connected. And we're talking and having a conversation. In the back of my head, I'm thinking of Brooke. I'm like, look at this. I'm terrified. But this man next to me is saying the most incredible things about everything in my life that matters. A man that failed in his life and worked on his successes and his endeavors, and now he's got like, he's a freaking millionaire.
Okay, so he just opened a
We
conversation.
just opened a conversation, and I'm just sitting there, I'm like, and I'm crying here, terrified of my life,
Right.
of dying in an airplane, and I'm missing this opportunity? Ali, come on.
So give us like a brief of what about the guy, because when you were telling the story, you were just saying like, okay, this guy is an amazing person, and I'm so glad I met him.
Yeah.
How did the conversation start, right? And then what did you talk about that inspired you, and did it take your mind off the fact that you were 30,000 feet in the air?
For basically when I was talking to him, the conversation started off with, what are your values? I was like, what do you do for work? I'm like,
Right.
oh, well, I'm working at, in finance, and I'm also doing a podcast. The second I said podcast, his eyes lit up. He's like, you're doing a podcast? He's like, that's freaking awesome. Like, what are you guys talking about? I'm like, life, vision, values, talking about ego, emotional resilience, fear.
Right.
That was the last podcast we talked about, was fear.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, really? Check out this podcast. And the whole conversation started coming out. And he's telling me, like, hey, this is what I'm doing. This is my business. He showed me, like, his whole business plan. He's got basically 68 dental labs all over America.
Right.
And we just had a powerful connection right there. And I'm in this plane, and I'm flying in it. And for some time, I don't know, Ibrahim, my mind was, like, at the same time scared.
Got it. So there was a little bit in the
There's
back.
triggers happening.
Right. Like
it
a
was
little
in spurts.
turbulence or something.
It was like
that.
spurts. And I'm like,
Right.
every 5 seconds, I'm like, okay. All right, this guy's drinking his coffee. Get some orange juice. All right, I'm drinking orange juice.
Right.
So I was just trying to feel that fear, because I knew this airplane fear goes with everything in my life.
Uh-huh.
If I can handle this fear, and I can look at it for what it is, and know it's not going to kill me, then any other fear I face, I can handle it.
False evidence appearing
False
real.
evidence appearing real.
Right.
And that's basically what happened all the way till the end of the flight. After the flight ended, and I landed, and I sat there for a second, and I took it in. I was like, I gotta write this down. I literally wrote down 4 or 5 messages, the whole thing I sent to you guys.
Yeah.
My whole experience. And wrote it down, as you said. And seeing that. And I realized, you know what, Ali? Like, dude, this is all the opportunities you've missed. How many flights I could have been. How many places I could have seen. The people I could have met.
Right.
How much further I would have been in life. But I was so scared, and I'm stuck in my sandbox. And isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
We sabotage ourselves without even realizing it. Like, I thought I was gonna die. Did I die? I'm here right now in front of you guys talking about this.
Right.
I'm like, dude, what the hell? Why do we make these evidences appear real? Why? I don't understand. And it bothers me still. Now that I lived it,
Right.
why does this still happen to us?
Yeah. How much fun did you have while you were there? So you're talking about, right now you're talking about just by the flight itself, you felt like, whoa, this is incredible. I met this amazing person. You're like, we got to get him on the podcast. You're saying all this stuff just with the flight.
Just with the flight.
I was just saying, like, when you get there, have a good time and come back, it'll be great. But you're saying the flight itself. I mean, I got your text, we got the message. But how was the experience there? Was it a good time?
Man, it was incredible.
Was it worth it?
It was worth every minute, every second of my life.
Right.
It was a dream.
Yeah.
Just walking there, seeing San Antonio. I mean, the weather sucked.
Yeah.
But besides that,
Yeah.
I mean, the people were incredible. Going down on my first water slide 6 stories high, that was also a fear of heights too. That I also I was like, you know what? If I can go through a flight,
Yeah.
I'm coming from San Antonio. I'm gonna be doing this drop, and that 6-story was a water slide.
It's a drop too.
It was a drop.
Yeah, so you're standing and the floor drops and you go down.
Oh my
I saw
gosh.
the video.
I did it 5 times, man, just to be able to confirm to myself, Ali, you did it.
Right.
You've mastered and you've honed yourself. You've conquered this fear of heights.
Quick question: when you said the video we saw, which one was that? Which fall?
That was the 5th one.
That's freaking awesome because you were talking with such power. And so, what? How did you feel in the first fall? The first time when you were standing.
I was telling you when I was walking up, I was telling myself out loud, this is false evidence appearing real.
Right.
As I was walking up, I was pep talking myself.
Yeah.
My legs were shaking.
Yeah.
And this guy was sitting in the very tip top, looking at me. He's like, "You ready?" I'm like, "Yes." He's like,
So
"You sure?" He's like, I'm like, "What happens? People walk around 4 or 5 times and they walk downstairs." I'm like, "I walked up here. I'm going down this slide no matter what. I can't turn back. There's no going back. I have to be the arrow.
Right.
I have to go straight. I can't go back." I went there. I was like, "Boom, let's go."
So you fall.
Yes, I fell.
You feel terror.
I felt
Or
terror
fun.
for 1 second, and
Yeah.
after that, it was just complete, pure, incredible power.
It's crazy because there is so much buildup that happens. Fear is literally, it's like brick by brick, moment by moment is a brick. And then you start creating all these potential realities. So the longer that you wait for the drop, the bigger the fear is, right? But as soon as that drop happens, the same thing happens. The fear drops.
Yes.
You know what I mean? When you are going down, you're actually having fun. And on the other side of fear is fun. You know what I mean? It's just the process. The gravity pulls you down, and then as soon as you get up, I know you yelled. I know you whooped. You know what I mean? Who whoops? Right.
I was like,
Whoop!
the whole time, bro.
But it was an incredible time, and then you did it again and again and again. And the thing that's so powerful is the repetition between fear. The more reps you do, the more weight you can lift, right? The more fear you can lift, the more it becomes a habit of who you are. So you do that. Then you go to the award ceremony. You're honored, and then you come back here and have this amazing story to share with people.
Yes.
Just because you faced the fear. Mm-hmm. And here's the interesting thing. The reason you went is because you had to go.
Yes.
Right? Imagine what other opportunities will show up in your life when you choose to go. Just like you chose to go on that slide. You didn't have to do the slide, right?
Yeah.
That award ceremony life forced you to face your fear.
It did.
And now you have the power, knowing that you can survive fear, to choose as opposed to waiting for life to do it. Powerful stuff, man.
So powerful, man.
It's amazing, man. I'm just so glad you got to share that, dude.
Thank you, guys. Seriously, man. That's, whew. Thank you, guys.
Wonderful.
More to come.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely, man. I just thought it'd be great if we just have this as an addition. So
Yeah.
we had our last podcast, and we wanted to finish it off with this because it's not just talk. It's not just talk. It's the way you live. If you face your fear, if you go up and realize that all of your imaginations of what could go wrong are just imagination, and if you could use that imagination to what could go right, it'll move you forward. And if you still feel the fear, do it scared. Do it scared. My friend's son says it all the time. Do it scared. It's okay. Do it scared. And that's what you did. And then take note of the fear.
Yes.
And then when you look at the fear and you're like, wow, I was really tripping about this. And then look at what the outcome was by facing it. You're like, I'm so empowered. So now you know that fear is just a prerequisite to greatness. And that's where the power's at.
To add to what you said, one huge thing you said to me that really stood out is when you told me to look at fear for what it is. Don't basically, like separate it from yourself. Remember we were talking about anger last time? Separate yourself and look at it objectively as an observer. Where is this pain? Where is this fear coming from?
Right.
Where do you feel it in your body? And how is it controlling you? Because that's what stops us. That physical reaction. The moment you observe it and you go, this is what fear is, and you still do it scared and you survive from it, you realize that breakthrough and you go, oh my God.
Yeah. Fear can be a trigger.
Yeah.
That feeling of, wherever you feel that, most people run when they feel that. But if you have tied to it, that same thing as we're talking about, that fear to greatness, you hear, it goes fear equals opportunity for greatness. And if you can tie that story together, then all you'll think about is fear is greatness about to happen. Then it'll give you the strength to push through and make it happen, to do the drop, and then do it 5 times and then realize, oh my God, I love flying. Or I love the people that I meet when I travel to worlds that I've never been to, as opposed to being in my city.
Wow.
Amazing stuff.
Dude.
Very cool, man. Awesome. All right. Hope you guys enjoyed that.
For sure.
I go to this church group called Known and Loved by God. And for the longest time, I've had some resentment towards the group just because, there was some things wrong. They weren't as energetic. They weren't as childlike. And what's funny is they did a message on childlike love or childlike faith. And I watched, I was there and I listened to it. I listened to the whole childlike faith and I left early. And I was angry. Does that make sense? I was just really angry. And then I came back the next week, and that's when kind of the drop came in, where I just wanted to speak my truth. I just wanted to say what was on my mind. But I was afraid. I was afraid of people not liking me. I was afraid of people saying bad things about me, thinking of me the wrong way, or thinking that I'm cocky, or thinking that, oh, I know everything, and all of that, right? And my heart was just pounding. It was just pounding right before it. And I asked my friends, I was like, hey, should I go up there and talk? This was the recent moment. So it was the time right after Childlike Love, the message. And dude, I'm a huge advocate for Childlike Love. So I went up there, I just grabbed the mic, and I just said, screw it. And I just did it. Because all it was false evidence appearing real.
Damn.
That's all it was. All these thoughts that were in my head, they were all false. And none of it was true.
Right.
None of it was true. And I just talked and I spoke my truth. And almost everybody, well, I don't, you know what I mean? But it's like just the room was just different. It was just different.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
When you were experiencing, you're thinking of all the potential things that they could be thinking. You're like, I don't want them to not like me or to reject it or to think that I'm trying too hard or whatever. Afterwards, and you got that reception, what did it make you feel?
Empowered.
Right. Right. Did it make you look at your past self and be like, man, I wish I could have gone back in time and be like, hey, you're going to be fine. Right?
Yeah.
It's such an interesting thing because there's two of us. You know, there's the person who's afraid and the person after that has faced the fear. Two totally different human beings with different thought processes, right? When you're afraid, your mind can only see what could go wrong. When you're successful, you wonder what else you can do. And so if you can start to build a conversation between the one who is empowered and the one who's disempowered, almost like a letter, what can you write to that one that's disempowered? Hey, buddy, I know you're afraid, but let me remind you that I've gone through A, B, C, D, and E, and I felt the same feeling you're feeling right now. On the other side of this is greatness. And it's the other person being like, whoa, wait. But what if I do fail? Well, I've also gone through F, G, H, and I, right? That's when we start to realize that even if you fail, there's greatness. Because it's no longer about the reaction. It's about getting over the thoughts of what potential reactions are there. That's it. Let's just get rid of all the potentials and do it and see the reality. Because you'll evolve, you'll grow, you'll survive. You know what I mean? And that's where the power is at. So that's awesome, man. Really cool. Very cool.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing.
So that pretty much concludes our episode today about fear. Catch us next time and let us know if you have any questions in the comments. We'll see you guys next time.